All right. I think if anyone else joins us in the next couple of minutes, they can just slot in. I would like to start the meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land where we are placed, the Wurundjeri people of the Woi Wurrung language group. We pay our sincere respects to the elders of the past who held their culture, elders of the present who strengthen their culture, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that we engage with, and welcome any Torres Strait Islander or Aboriginal people who are in our meeting today. I have an apology, I suppose, from Elizabeth Baxter, who has been my co-host at these meetings for the last three, nearly 4 years. Elizabeth is no longer working at VMCH and has
Oh,
a position with a disability organisation in Geelong. So, as far as I've heard, she's loved her first couple of days, but we will certainly miss her co-hosting these meetings.
please send her our regards.
I will. I really will, Penelope,
Thank you.
to Elizabeth. And we welcome Rodney Jilek. Rodney is the Managing Director of Community Homes Australia, who's come to let us know what they do, how they do it, and how it's different. So I'll hand over to you, Rodney. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. I was just looking at this screen thinking this is a really lopsided Brady bunch. There's only one man.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very alone, very vulnerable. Hello, everyone. Yeah, as Sarah said, I'm the Managing Director of Community Home Australia. Um, I started this organisation with Nicole Smith, who is my colleague who lives in wonderful Canberra, the bubble, and we can actually blame Melbourne for all of this because this whole organisation came out of Nicole and my experience in Melbourne during your major pandemic outbreak. We were both down there. um, I was a nurse advisor working in one of the sanctioned homes, and Nicole was a first responder for Aspen Medical. She was actually responsible for the ACT and New South Wales, but got dragged down there when Victoria imploded. And we came out of that saying to each other, there has to be a better way to do this. The home I was in was 160 beds. Every resident, every staff member ended up with COVID. I think out of the entire cohort of staff, I think there was 3 kitchen hands who didn't get it, and that was it. They lost 20 residents during that time. So it was incredibly heartbreaking, the whole thing, really, trying to manage something that we really didn't know a great deal about back then. So Nicole came to me and said, we surely there's got to be some better way to do this. So we bought a house in Canberra and retrofitted it and started with our first sill house for younger onset dementia, and that was our specialty, was younger onset. And we've grown from there. So we now have 5 homes in Canberra. We've got a holiday house down the coast. We've got a day centre that operates in South Canberra, and we've just bought an Indonesian Balinese holiday resort, that we're now providing people inside and outside of the NDIS assisted getaways, STA, respite, a whole heap of different programs out of that resort in Bali. So that's taken up a lot of our time and a lot of our money to try and do that. But it's going incredibly well. We've had our first group of people living with dementia go over. Two men from our services in Canberra went over for a week, had an absolute ball, went over with 2 staff. We've had a lady from Melbourne. Her family joined her from Perth, so they had a whole family event over there. She's been in a wheelchair since she was about 3 or 4, I think. So she was our test bunny to test out the wheelchair accessibility and our bathrooms and everything like that. And then we had a lady come from Singapore, who lives with younger onset dementia as well. And they were all there really to give us their feedback and how we could improve things. But since we bought, it was an existing resort that we bought. We've retrofitted 2 of the rooms so far, so they've got disability compliant bathrooms, all wheelchair accessible. The entire resort of 2,500 square meters is all wheelchair accessible. So we've done a lot of work in the grounds as well to make it accessible for everyone. Fixed up lighting, done all that kind of stuff, put in new water filtration systems so that people don't get barley belly. That was one of the first things we did actually, because from my experience of having an 84-year-old father that has dementia, I knew straight away that I could tell him not to drink the water, but 5 minutes later he was going to drink the water. So we had to look at a mitigation intervention that would stop that. And the easiest way to do that was filter all the water at the boundary. So as the water comes into the resort, goes through a 4-phase filtration system, including UV sanitation, kills absolutely everything. And you can now drink from the taps, you can drink from the shower, doesn't matter. So they're the kind of things that we put in place for that. It is, despite the pushback from the sector, I'd have to say, not from the government, it is covered by the NDIS. So participants on the NDIS can come to the resort. They can come there for respite. It's called inclusive respite, covers accommodation, food, activities, and supports. Go away. And the NDIS will pay for their list of approved things. The way that we make it accessible for everyone is if your finances don't allow you to travel, we will help you out, because Community Home Australia is a charity. So we have a charitable and philanthropic fund that we use. And so we pay for their airfares, we pay for their visas, so that people can actually get there. So we don't want people not to be able to experience the joy of traveling just because they can't afford to. And let's face it, most people that are on a disability pension or living with disability or dementia are having a hard enough time paying for life here every day than going away. So we chip in as well to make that possible. As I said, the whole organisation started with a focus on younger onset dementia. Since then, we've been going nearly 4 years now. And since then, we've been bombarded with requests. So because everyone out there has seen what we do and how we do it and said, oh, but we don't have a service for us. So we now have people living with Parkinson's disease, motor neurone, MS, intellectual disabilities, autism spectrum, you name it, really. I mean, everyone just comes. And the way we operate the service is we don't care where you come from, what cultural group you belong to, what language you speak, what your disability is. You're an individual that walks through the door, and we start with that, and we design a program that meets your needs individually. So even the day centre can be running 10 different programs at once for people in there, because they tailor all of the activities to whoever is there on the day. So yeah, so that's probably about us really. Happy to answer any questions or yeah, give you any information that you might like.
So I've got a question, Rodney. Why Bali?
Yeah, interesting. We chose Bali because a few reasons. One, it's a direct flight from every capital city in Australia, so it's easy to get to. Um, it's a relatively short flight, so most people can, the longest flight's I think 6 hours. So it's copable for most people. Um, and it's a favourite place of Australians. A lot of Australians have either been there before or wanted to go there or wanted to retire there. There's a large expat community that live there. So we've already been approached by the expat community there. As soon as they found out what we were doing, they put in a request and said, there's a whole group of them that have now turned 60 or above, and they've said to us, accommodations everywhere, but there's no care. So build us a retirement village. So that's the second phase. So I've just bought the land next door to the resort, and we'll be opening with 16 villas, all self-contained villas, but we'll also have care services available as well. So we have registered nurses and enrolled nurses at the resort every day, 7 days a week. And a bit like our services in Australia, depending on who comes, that's how we tailor the care services. So you may only need an hour or so of support during the day, or you might need one-on-one 24 hours a day. And we can do either of them or all of those things. So the village will be able to provide longer term stays because visas. There's a number of different visas in Indonesia that Australians can get. That's quite easily to get. So you can easily stay 3 months. Or also for people who want to retire there permanently. One of the big draw cards for Australians is that Bali has a retirement visa, and the Australian government allows you to keep your Australian pension if you retire in Bali. So you can retire in Bali, live a very financially advantageous life, and keep your $1,100 a fortnight from your age pension. So and on that you can live very comfortably, which most pensioners in Australia now struggle. So so that's going to be a big incentive for people, I think, that may wish to go down that path. The resort is right on the ocean. It's an ocean front. It's in East Bali, so it's away from the madness of all the tourist sites. But it has 3 international standard hospitals within 6 kilometres. Part of the village will be a medical centre as well, because one of the things that we're trying to do with this whole project is to give back to the community. So the resort already does cleanup programs for the environment. We do dog sterilizations and vaccinations and treatment programs. And one of the big things for the Balinese is healthcare. And while their hospital system is free, it's a bit like ours. You've got to jump through 500 hoops to get there. And for us, seeing a doctor is really reasonable. It's $15. But when you have people that are earning $200 or $300 a month, $15 is a lot of money. So we'll be employing a medical practitioner full time, and then allowing the community to come and see him for free, or her. So we're trying to give everything that we look at. We're trying to give back to the community, so that unfortunately there's a lot of people from internationally who come to places like Bali and they just rape and pillage and take all of the money out, and we didn't want to be like that. So we wanted to make sure that the staff that worked with us were well paid and well supported, and that the community that we were in was also well supported.
Yeah, yeah. And Marianne, did you have your hand up?
I did, but I was also caught up in just listening. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what my question was now. Oh, yes, it was about the people in the community that said, "Oh, can you build us a retirement village?"
Yeah.
So I went to Michael Verde's movie screening in
Yep.
Melbourne a little while ago. And you know, I hadn't heard of the Memory Bridge program before going to watch that, but I was wondering if maybe for some of those folks in the community, whether they might be interested in potentially having the opportunity to have a similar kind of training to participate in a kind of visiting service for the people who are coming out from Australia with younger onset dementia and so on to you know, have a bit of that kind of integration really to be able to kind of chat to some of the local expat community and so on.
Yep. One of the I suppose the fundamental components of Community Home Australia that makes us a bit different to most providers around the world is that all of our services are embedded in community. So we involve the community in our services, and we involve the people that we support back into the community. And I know Sarah was wanting me to raise during this my stoush with Hammond Care with their Hungry Jack's burger, and I guess the reason that I wanted to poke about that topic was that we're very good in aged care with making up things for people to do. And while they might occupy someone, they don't have any meaning. So you know, we've dealt with services. I've had an aged care consultancy for a couple of decades. You know, services that have a bucket load of leaves that they tip out, and then the person has to rake them up, and then they turn around and tip them back out again. You know, that is, it's an activity that keeps them occupied, but it has absolutely no meaning. And so what we've tried to do with all of our programs is set up activities that are engaging people in the community that actually have meaning. So at the day centre in Canberra, the people that come to the day centre, they participate in groups with children. So we have preschools come in, we have primary schools come in, they restore furniture together with the students. They do gardening for Floriade. So we were one of the Floriade centres in Canberra. They're a drop-off point for Roundabout, which recycles clothes. So people drop off the clothes to us. Our participants sort them, bag them, and then deliver them to Roundabout so that they can go out to other people. And same in Bali, that we have people from the community coming in so that they interact with people that are living with dementia, because it's quite a foreign concept to them, and it's not something that's openly discussed with people. So it's about integrating people back into society. And it's the opposite of what we generally do in aged care. We segregate people together, like we're categorizing eggs to go into the different egg cartons. So all of you people with dementia, you can go in this bucket, and all you people with Parkinson's can go in this bucket. And both of those buckets are away from the normal people bucket. And so you end up, I used to have a colleague that used to call it leper colonies. We created these leper colonies and TB colonies for people. And while it's all very well-meaning, and yes, you can specialise in care for those particular illnesses or diseases, you then create a whole heap of other problems because you're socially isolating people. You're also not educating the community to actually change and accept people and integrate with people, because they never see them, because they're over on the left-hand corner, tucked away somewhere where you can't see them. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for integrating people into the community and having those in-your-face programs so that people see them and know that they exist. And that's what we did with the day centre. Most of the day centres that are around are tucked away in little church halls somewhere down the back, hidden away. I picked the most public place in Tuggeranong to put the day centre. It's right across the road from the major shopping centre. It's smack bang in the CBD. And we've got big signs and gardens and everything out the front so that people can see that this is a special place and anyone is welcome and you can come and go. And we get the bureaucrats from the government departments walk past us in the morning and afternoon to go and buy their cheap coffee from the Shell service station next to us. And they stick their heads in and say hello and interact, and it's great to see. And they're the kind of things we need to do.
Yeah. Rachel, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, with the YOD specific seals that you have, do you have any plans on those in Melbourne, or is it just Canberra at the moment, obviously?
We get asked that just about every day. Will you come to Melbourne? Will you come to Perth? Will you come to Brisbane? The line that we've run is that we are going to stay in Canberra, but all of our work and all of our model is all available to anyone. So we have people coming to see us from all over the country. It would be nice if occasionally they chose to acknowledge where they got their information from, but we understand that people are not very good at saying thank you. But we've had people, all coming all the way from Perth. I'm trying to think of the provider that's just opened their YOD service, their first seal in Canberra, in Perth. They came to Canberra to see what we did and get ideas. So we don't charge people to come and visit us like a lot of providers do, because our whole intent is to share that information so that people can replicate it. Because it's just not feasible for us to do it on that kind of scale all over the country. We never wanted to become a booper. We wanted to be able to provide a really high quality service. And we get people coming to our seal services from all over the country. Which is not ideal, and it's a bit of a sad reflection on the rest of the country that there's nothing else available. But we've taken people from Melbourne, from Tasmania, from Brisbane, from Sydney, and we're constantly overflowing. So we've just opened another house because we were chock-a-block full and we couldn't take anyone else, and 2 more people came and wanted to come in. So that's a big difference with us. We haven't gone out and built 40 seals and then had to beg, borrow and steal to try and get people to come in and live there. We've been demand driven. So we started with 1, went to 2, went to 3, went to 5. We keep saying that we're not going to grow anymore, and then Nicole rings me and says, I need another house. I've got too many people. And even with that new house that we opened last week, we've now got another 2 people that came at the end of last week who want to move in. So we do respite as well. So we do planned and emergency respite, because that's just something that people can't get. If you want respite in an aged care service, you have to give them a month's notice. You have to stay for 2 weeks. A lot of them won't even take you unless you agree to come in and go permanent. And so we have a rule that if you ring us in crisis, if you rang us at midday, we would have you in by 4 p.m. So we've had people that have been in our day centre, that the spouse or the children have rung and said, Dad can't come home today. Is there any way that you can possibly keep him? And we do. So that's how flexible the emergency service is.
And how do you get staff and train the staff?
We have staff coming out of our ears. If the last time I advertised, I had over 50 applicants. So we've never been empty. We've never needed staff. The only time that we advertise is if we open another house and we need lots of staff in a hurry because the person's one-on-one 24 hours a day, or we need a particular specialist role that we don't have someone on our books waiting to come in. But for registered nurses, enrolled nurses, and care staff, I have got a waiting list, and I've had a waiting list for 4 years. And the reason that we have a waiting list is because I made the decision when we started, I could do one of two things. I could earn crap loads of money and build a giant mountain and sit my fat backside on it and enjoy my life, or I could run it as a charity and churn everything back into the service so that the team and the people that we support get the best care and support in the country. And that's what we chose. So all of our team members, the minimum wage is at least 10% above the disability award. We pay 12% super, 6 weeks annual leave, 20 days personal leave. We've got the holiday house down the coast that they can take their families to. And now with the resort, our team members escort the people that go from Australia. So in December, I've got a gentleman who's coming for respite at the resort. He's blind. He was a Paralympic equestrian athlete. He lives in Brisbane. We don't have any services in Brisbane. So to escort him, one of my team is flying from Canberra to Brisbane, meeting him at the airport, and then flying from Brisbane to Denpasar. And then the team get to stay at the resort for a week as a reward. So we use it as a reward program for our team members, and they love it. So they get to have a break as well.
Rodney, sorry, I missed the first 5 minutes of your presentation, but I'm just curious, do you get any government funding? I mean, how can you fund all these wonderful programs?
So we're an NDIS provider, and we deliberately went NDIS instead of aged care because I spent 8 years with the Commonwealth in the aged care program. I used to be their clinical advisor. They wouldn't approve me. I'm the black sheep of the family, so I wouldn't get approval as an approved provider, nor do I want to be. And a lot of the things that we do, you can't do in the aged care program. They are so incredibly risk averse and so bureaucratic in everything that they do. They're actually detrimental to people with dementia and disability. So we made the decision to go NDIS, but we now take people out of nursing homes. So we've actually had people come to us from nursing homes. We have people that come to us from retirement villages. We support people in the community. We support people. I think our oldest person at the moment is in their early 80s. So we now have 2 people that are full fee paying people that use their home care packages. We broker through a home care provider, and they live with us. So we're very, very flexible in what we do. Some of it comes from our charitable stuff and our donations. Most of that comes from me. But it's about finding ways to do things. We don't say no. No just isn't in the vocabulary. So if anyone comes and asks us something, we sit down and we go, how the hell are we going to do this? But we're not going to say no.
Wow.
And going back to Sarah's question about the Whopper burger, our argument is that why would you purposely deceive someone by putting a homemade hamburger in a Whopper packet when you can either take the person to Hungry Jack's or you can buy Hungry Jack's and have it delivered? And I guess that's where our objection is. It's not that that they're deliberately trying to do something that's harming a person, or their intent is good, but it's about looking at what we do, and particularly in residential care, and saying, but how else can I do it that would be normal for everyone else? If that person wasn't living here and they wanted Hungry Jack's, how would they get Hungry Jack's? They certainly wouldn't make a hamburger and put it in a Hungry Jack's box and then sit down and go, ooh, I'm eating Hungry Jack's. So that's the way we look at things. Our SIL participants, they have a menu. They participate in shopping. They do meal preparation. They all eat together. The staff all eat with them. But if someone doesn't want what they've cooked and they've changed their mind, they order from one of 40 restaurants in Canberra, because that's what I'd do. If my wife cooked me something that I really, really didn't want, I go, well, I'm not going to eat that. I'll order something in. That's a normal thing that we do. And people quite regularly order meals in. So why, just because they're in care, why shouldn't they be able to do that? So we do. And again, it's about making choices for an organisation. We don't have a flashy head office. We don't have, 50 million marketing people and huge marketing campaigns and flashy cars to drive around. I often tell people a story of a sanction that I did in Sydney, and the home had failed all of the accreditation standards. The provider had 4 homes and 3 of them were under sanction, and smack bang in the middle of it, the 2 owners who were related turned up in brand new Mercedes-Benz SUVs. And I pulled them aside and said, what the hell is wrong with you people? And they looked at me and they went, but it's end of financial year, Rodney. We had to spend the money. The residents were living in squalor. The staff were being underpaid, being flogged to death like slaves, but their priority was to buy brand new Mercs because it was end of financial year. They're the choices that we've chosen not to follow. And that's why we can do a lot of the stuff we can do. A lot of SIL providers make their participants buy all the furniture. They charge them a participant contribution and then they make them buy all the food. We're just horrified because when people come and stay with us, they've got a fully furnished house. It's got everything. So, because we do it properly, we do it the way that we would like to be treated, not the minimum standard that the government sets. So it's a very, very different mindset. And unfortunately, that creates a lot of enemies in both of the sectors, because people don't like that you're doing things that are outside, excuse me, the scope of what the government has told you that you have to do. We don't operate on minimum standards. And that's unfortunately what aged care has become. How do I do enough to get my nose over the line? Because that's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything more than that. So every provider in the country could do exactly what we're doing. When the aged care sector whinges at me and says, yeah, you're doing all these things because you're an NDIS provider, I say to them, you were all gifted NDIS registration. You didn't even have to pay for it. I had to pay for it. You got it for free and you still don't want to do it. So it comes down to the attitude of the organizations and what they want to provide.
And Rodney, is that the pushback that you were talking about earlier? You got a lot of pushback from the sector. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, oh look, the aged care sector, the number of people that I had contacting me privately about from the aged care sector saying you'll be broke in a year. Yeah, you can't possibly run a business like that. 4 years we've been going. First year we broke even. Ever since we've made a surplus. So the difference is I've been offered 2 NDIS providers to buy. They're both the same size as my organization. They're both posting more than $1 million profit each a year. We aim to break even. So last year we would have made about $180,000 after everything was paid for.
Yeah.
But that's the way we set up. You know, my team get paid more than anyone else in the sector. They have to look after fewer people. Our direct care ratio is 1 to 3, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because when you only have to look after 3 people, you can actually form a relationship with them. You can actually know who they are, what they. So we don't use restrictive practices generally because we don't have to. Because our team knows the person, they preempt when something's not going right, and they adjust to fix it. So we've taken people that have come out of locked psych units, drugged to the eyeballs, and our proviso has been, we will take them if you take them off everything. And then we will work out how to manage that person and their needs. So we had one lady who was locked up for 5 months. She was a witness at the Royal Commission for Institutional Child Sexual Abuse. And after her witness statements, she ended up in the psych unit in a country town. Not one aged care provider would touch her in the whole region because she had too many behaviours. So they drugged her to the point of no return and locked her in a psych unit for 5 months. We took her out, brought her to Canberra. We worked out pretty quickly that she just wanted to be outside. She just wanted to walk. So my team walked with her every day, 9 kilometres every day. I had 3 staff members. One of them was my daughter. They lost 10 kilos. It was the world's best fitness program. And that lady lived her best life till the day she died. And because we're very different to normal NDIS providers, and I have registered nurses on staff in the houses, in the day centre, I have my own nurse practitioner. We have all the allied health. We can do everything up to end-of-life care. So we've palliated 6 people now. And we've now got to the point where Clare Holland House, which is the hospice in Canberra, they literally stick their head in the door, they check that everything's in place, and they go, see you later, you got it. So our next house that we're opening in January next year, we get the occupancy certificate in January, will be a 3-bed hospice service for people living with dementia and cognitive impairment who don't want to die in hospital or in a nursing home. And we will take them into that house in the community and we'll palliate them there. So, but we have all the equipment. We've got the last lady that passed away a few weeks ago, a very senior intensive care specialist, had a whole range of presentations that no aged care service would have been able to cope with. We ended up providing end-of-life care. She had 3 syringe drivers running at the same time that we were giving her hourly PRN hydromorph. So for a SIL service, that's just unheard of. But that's what we do, because that's what this lady needed. And we didn't want to send her to hospital, and we had the resources to do it. So if anyone ever tells you that people have to go to a nursing home to receive high-level clinical care, tell them that they're mad, because they don't. And they'll actually get better care in the community, because the registered nurse that's looking after them only has to look after them. Doesn't have to look after 30, 50 people, 100 people. All of those services are there, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Did anyone else have any questions or not have a chance to ask their burning question?
Oh, someone was asking about education before. Next Monday, I've actually got a meeting with, I'm terrible with names, James Vickers from the Wicking Dementia Program. We're going to partner with the Wicking Group and translate all of the dementia programs from Wicking into Bahasa Indonesian. So
fantastic.
So then we can train Indonesians in dementia care as well. So one of the first things we did when we bought the resort was we trained all of the existing staff, and there was 9 of them, in dementia care, in disability care, and first aid. So that's including the gardener. Everyone went, and they were trained in Bahasa with one of us as well. And they're just absolutely amazing with our guests. Culturally, they are miles ahead of us, just in the way that they respect and treat elders, and they respect and treat people with disability. So it comes naturally for them. So we're just now giving them that academic knowledge to say, this is why you're doing what you're doing, because they know what to do. We have the only publicly available defibrillator outside of a hospital in the whole region of Bali. So, and the staff are all trained in that as well.
Yeah.
So I go there all the time. I'm not the fittest person in the world. If something happens to me, I need someone to be able to look after me. But there's a international standard cardiac hospital 2 kilometres away. So
you'll be right then.
I'll get there pretty quickly. So yeah. But I guess our big message to everyone is that you can do anything. If your attitude is yes, you can take anyone with the most bizarre out there requests, and you can make what would be unachievable in an institutional setting, and you can make it happen. My team took one of our ladies, her husband lived in Tumut, I think it was, and they hadn't seen each other for a while, and they had some needs that they needed to address. And so we hired a hotel, and we drove her from Canberra to Tumut, and my team sat outside and waited for them to do their thing, and then they brought her home. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Whatever you need, that's what we do.
Thank you so much, Rodney.
That's all right.
That's been inspirational, I think, to listen to. And I know a lot of us are kind of not at the place in our organisations where we can change the world. It's nice to know somebody is. So
the other thing I will just tell you quickly is, if anyone wants to participate in, there's a group that Community Home Australia facilitates. It's called Open the Doors. and you'll find it on LinkedIn. And if anyone wants the details of it, I can certainly email them to you. It's something that Nicole Smith set up. It's an alliance of international people with an interest or an expertise in dementia care. So there's over 500 members from all over the world. Michael Verde is one of them, and Michael spoke at the resort when we first opened it. He did some sessions for people, and we sponsored him to come as well to New Zealand and Australia. And that's the other thing that we're doing is sponsoring people to come from overseas, because we want them to be able to share their information with Australia as well. And otherwise, we just don't get to hear it. Australia is very insular, particularly in aged care and disability care. And we only want to focus on the fantastic things that we're doing, and we really don't want to know about what anyone else is doing. And then when we finally decide to follow them, it's 20 years down the track. So the people that are now jumping up and down and saying, oh, we're building dementia villages, aren't they innovative? Dementia village, 20 years old. The Netherlands is actually moving away from dementia villages. So that's how long they've been around. So we really need to keep up with what's happening internationally. And the Open the Doors Alliance is something they meet once a month. It's all online, and they have a different presenter every month that brings a different program or something that they're doing overseas. But it's often quite practical as well. So it gives you ideas of how you can implement these things in your own services. But I'll shut up now.
Thank you. And if you want to email that info, I can certainly put it when I email out the video
Sure.
link to everybody. I'll include that.
Yep.
So thank you very, very much for coming along.
That's right.
If anyone wants to say anything before we close. Nope, they're all going, nope, no, it's all good. Thank you so much. This video will
Pleasure.
be available when I get around to it. And Rodney, enjoy the rest of your afternoon,
Thank you.
and everybody else as well. Thanks very much for coming along.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.